The New Orleans Saints just spent over $170 million in free agency, and nobody in the NFC South is ready for what is coming. Kellen Moore walked into year 2 with a mission, and he did not waste a single dollar. Travis Etienne is now a Saint on a 4-year, $52 million contract, bringing an explosive 3 down back into a run game that desperately needed life. David Edwards locked down the left guard spot on a 4-year, $61 million deal, finally giving this offensive line real stability on the interior. Caden Ellis came home to New Orleans on a 3-year, $33 million contract to fill the void left by Demario Davis. Noah Fant adds a second dangerous tight end next to Juwan Johnson. Even the punter position got addressed with Ryan Wright. The scouting department won the Best Draft Award for the 2025 class. And the craziest part is, this team still is not done building. Tyler Shuck enters his second year as the starting quarterback with real momentum behind him. 9 starts, a gunslinger mentality, and a coaching staff that believes in him completely. Brandon Staley earned a straight A from his own players in the NFLPA report card, which tells you everything about the culture shift happening on defense. This is a franchise that went 6-11 last season, but somehow feels closer to contention than teams that won 9 or 10 games. The pieces are falling into place on both sides of the ball. Kellen Moore is not rebuilding. He is reloading. And the 2026 NFL Draft is the final piece of the puzzle that could push this roster over the edge. But here's what nobody is talking about. 3 holes still exist on this roster that could make or break the entire 2026 season. The pass rush opposite Chase Young needs a serious upgrade. A critical defensive back role lost its starter to free agency and has no clear replacement. And Chris Olave still does not have a true number 2 weapon running alongside him. The Saints hold the 8th overall pick with 8 total selections, and the board is absolutely stacked with talent at every single position they need. What happens over the next 3 weeks could define Kellen Moore's entire era in New Orleans. And the first domino that needs to fall starts with the offense, because what Tyler Shuck is about to get might completely change this team. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Saints and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 500 likes on this video. The Saints offense on paper looks scary good heading into 2026, but there is one gap that could keep this unit from reaching its ceiling. Tyler Shuck has Travis Etienne in the backfield, David Edwards protecting his blind side, Eric McCoy anchoring the center, and 2 tight ends in Juwan Johnson and Noah Fant, who can stretch the middle of the field. The run game alone should look completely different this season. But when you look at the wide receiver room, something is clearly missing. Rashid Shaheed was traded to Seattle, and that speed element vanished overnight. The offense lost a vertical threat it never truly replaced. Chris is a legitimate number 1 receiver who can win at every level of the field. But right now, the number 2 spot is a question mark that keeps getting louder. Juwan Johnson fills a role as a big-bodied pass catcher, and Noah Fant gives you versatility in 2 tight end sets. But this offense still needs a true wide receiver who can take the top off defenses and make defensive coordinators lose sleep at night. Here's what makes this situation even more interesting. There's a wide receiver in this draft class who already has a direct connection to Tyler Shuck from their college days together. That chemistry is not something you can manufacture. It already exists, and the Saints know it. The wide receiver conversation is going to be one of the most important storylines of this entire draft. But before New Orleans can fix the offense, they have a defensive crisis that demands immediate attention. Brandon Staley's defense made real progress last season, but one position is now wide open, and filling it is harder than most fans realize. Alontae Taylor signed a massive 4-year deal with the Tennessee Titans, and the star role he played in this defense walked right out the door with him. This is not just any position. The star in Staley's scheme is a hybrid defensive back who has to blitz, defend the run, cover slot receivers, erase tight ends, and basically be a wrecking ball in the middle of the field. You cannot just plug any defensive back in there and expect results. Kellen Moore said it himself. Replacing the star role is going to be a challenge. What makes it even trickier is the coaching staff has made it clear that experience at the position does not matter nearly as much as demeanor, physicality, and raw versatility. Alontae Taylor only had 44 career college snaps in the slot before dominating that role in New Orleans. So whoever fills this spot does not need a resume. They need an attitude. Internally, Julian Blackmon is the most logical option right now. He played 295 snaps in the slot for the Indianapolis Colts back in 2022 under Gus Bradley. Jonas Sanker also logged meaningful reps in the box in the slot last year. Quincy Riley could potentially move inside, and Kool-Aid McKinstry has the instincts for it, but is far more valuable staying on the outside. But here's where it gets really exciting. There is a prospect in this draft class who some evaluators believe is not just the best safety, not just the best defensive back, but the best overall football player available. And if the Saints land him at number 8, the star role could be locked down for the next decade. That conversation starts with the pass rush, because what is happening on the edge might force the Saints in a completely different direction. The Saints' defensive line has a ticking clock that most fans have not fully processed yet. Cam Jordan is still unsigned in free agency, and the longer this drags on, the more likely it is that his legendary run in New Orleans is over. Chase Young has the talent to be a dominant edge rusher, but staying healthy has been an issue throughout his entire career. Carl Granderson had a down year. If you're counting on that group alone to generate consistent pressure in 2026, you're setting yourself up for a long season. This pass rush needs new blood, and it needs it now. That is exactly why David Bailey, out of Texas Tech, keeps showing up in every single Saints mock draft. This man posted 81 total pressures in 2025. He had 14.5 sacks and 23 tackles for loss, while leading the Red Raiders to one of the most productive defensive seasons in program history. His first step off the line is so explosive that it looks like he is offside on nearly every snap. He has a lethal ghost move, a nasty bull rush, and a motor that never stops. The one concern is his run defense, which still needs development. But Brandon Staley's 3-4 scheme is built to mask that kind of weakness early in a player's career. Picture David Bailey and Chase Young rushing from opposite sides. That is a nightmare for every quarterback in the NFC South. Now, David Bailey is not the only edge talent on the board. Reuben Bain Jr. is a legitimate first-round option. Deeper names like Cassius Howell, T.J. Parker, Akeem Messidor, and Kelrick Falk offer value in later rounds. But the real question is whether the Saints pull the trigger on the edge at number 8, or if someone else on the board forces them to make a completely different choice. And trust me, the options waiting at that pick are going to blow your mind. This is the pick that could define the next era of Saints football. At number 8 overall, the board is going to present Kellen Moore with a decision that has no wrong answer, and that is what makes it so fascinating. Caleb Downs out of Ohio State might be the most complete football player in this entire draft class. He was a true freshman starter at Alabama before transferring, and his tape is absolutely ridiculous. Elite athleticism, top-shelf instincts, a 20% pressure rate when asked to blitz, and an 11% missed tackle rate. He has been described as an extension of the defensive coordinator on the field. If the Saints draft him, the star role is solved for the next 10 years. But the board might not let that happen so easily. Mansour Delane, out of LSU, is the best pure cornerback in this class. He allowed just 13 catches on 35 targets in 2025 with 0 touchdowns and 0 penalties. Opposing quarterbacks simply refused to test him. You could put him on the outside and move Kool-Aid McKinstry or Quincy Riley inside, or you could slot him directly into the star role with his rare combination of size and coverage ability. Then there is Sonny Styles out of Ohio State, a former safety-turned-linebacker with a perfect 10 out of 10 relative athletic score who could be a devastating big nickel weapon. The beauty of this situation is that no matter which direction the Saints go at number 8, The remaining needs can be addressed in rounds 2 and 3. Edge rusher in round 1 means you grab a defensive back on day 2. Safety at 8 means you chase a pass rusher or wide receiver next. Every path leads somewhere good. But speaking of wide receivers, the names available for the Saints across this draft are absolutely loaded, and the connections run deeper than most people think. The 2026 wide receiver class is ridiculously deep, and the Saints are sitting in the perfect position to grab a game changer. Chris Bell, out of Louisville, is the name that keeps circulating in New Orleans draft circles for one very specific reason. He and Tyler Shuck were teammates at Louisville, and according to Bell himself, Shuck has been actively pushing the Saints to draft him. Bell stands 6'2", 222 pounds, with a career contested catch rate of 55.9%. He was likely a first-round talent before tearing his ACL late in the season, but every report on his recovery has been extremely positive. He could realistically be available at pick 42. If the Saints want pure speed to replace what Rashid Shaheed brought, Zachariah Branch out of Georgia is the answer. He ran a 4.35 40-yard dash, won the Jet Award as the nation's top return specialist as a true freshman, and ranked 4th in FBS with 634 yards after the catch in 2025. His average of 8 yards after catch per reception is absurd. Then there is the sleeper who is quietly climbing boards. Dejon Stribling out of Ole Miss is a 6'2", 207-pound ex-receiver with 4.36 speed who caught 55 receptions for 811 yards and 6 touchdowns. His drop rate was just 1.8%, and his run blocking is some of the best in the entire class. Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon, and Jordan Tyson are first-round options if the Saints swing early. Malachi Fields, out of Notre Dame at 6'4", gives Michael Pittman vibes with strong hands and contested catch ability. Elijah Sarrett, out of Indiana, wins when the ball is in the air regardless of coverage. The receiver cupboard is overflowing, but the wide receivers are only part of the equation, because what is available on day 2 at cornerback and safety might be the real draft-winning territory. Rounds 2 and 3 are where the Saints could quietly steal the entire 2026 draft. At pick 42 and 73, the talent available at defensive back alone is enough to completely reshape this roster. Traden Stukes out of Arizona is one of the hottest names in the scouting community right now. He posted a 9.95 relative athletic score and ran a 4.33 40-yard dash at the Combine. He spent the last 3 years as a nickel corner for the Wildcats with 0 flags over the past 2 seasons. His instincts are elite. His tape is full of splash plays, and he is exactly the kind of high-character, high-ceiling player that Kellen Moore gravitates toward. If the Saints go edge or receiver at number 8, Stokes could walk in and compete for the star role immediately. D'Angelo Pons, out of Indiana, is another name worth watching closely. He is an outside corner by trade, but plays with a scrappy, physical edge that screams star role potential. His footwork is advanced, his competitive mindset is off the charts, and he has the kind of mentality that translates from day one. Colton Hood, out of Tennessee, brings impressive length, coverage IQ, and closing speed that makes quarterbacks think twice before throwing his direction. Keontae Scott has deep experience in the slot. Dylan Thieneman, out of Oregon, and Chris Johnson, out of San Diego State, round out the options. The real message here is flexibility. If Caleb Downs or Mansour Delane falls to 8, you take them and chase an edge or receiver on day 2. If David Bailey or a wide receiver is the pick in round 1, Traden Stokes or D'Angelo Pons can solve the defensive back need on day 2. Every combination works, but the value does not stop on day 2. The later rounds have some names that could turn into serious contributors, and one position battle in particular might catch everyone off guard. Day 3 is where championship rosters are built, and the Saints have picks at 132, 136, 150, 172, and 190 to find contributors who fit the culture Kellen Moore is creating. Jalen Farmer out of Kentucky is a right guard with over 1,600 career snaps who could develop behind Cesar Ruiz and eventually take over that spot. Emil Wagner out of Notre Dame is a 2-year starting right tackle and 2025 team captain who brings elite character and leadership to the locker room. Tim Keenan, the third out of Alabama, is a nose tackle and run stuffer who adds depth on the interior. Jonah Coleman out of Washington is a 5'8", 220-pound bowling ball running back who scored 15 touchdowns in 2025 and already had a top 30 visit with the Saints. Now here's the position battle nobody saw coming. The Saints met with Drew Stevens out of Iowa after his pro day, taking him to lunch and showing real interest. Stevens is rated as one of the top 3 kickers in this draft class and has already met with about 8 different teams. Charlie Smith converted 12 of 16 field goals last season and hit multiple kicks from beyond 50 yards. But bringing in competition only makes the roster stronger. Whether Stevens comes as a 6th-round pick at 190 or as an undrafted free agent, this kicker battle could be one of the most interesting camp storylines in New Orleans. The blueprint is clear. 8 picks, 3 major needs, and a board loaded with talent at every position the Saints care about. Kellen Moore proved last year that he can identify and develop high-character players. The 2025 draft was award-winning. The 2026 class has every ingredient to be even better. April 23rd in Pittsburgh, the Saints are on the clock, and this roster is about to take a massive leap forward.